All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get started. Welcome to the debate for Pleasant Grove Mayor and after that for Pleasant Grove City Council. We're glad to have you here tonight. I'm Holly Richardson. I used to be the representative in the Utah House for this area, and now I am on PSL News Radio and Sensors every morning from 9 to noon. We would like to start tonight with an opening prayer by Greg Richardson.
We are grateful for the We are grateful for this country that we live in. We are grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We are grateful for thy grace on this nation. We ask you to bless us and especially the candidates who are participating in this debate tonight, that we can be civil, that we can ask good questions, that we can provide good responses, and that we can learn the things that we need to know to make choices about our community. In this and in all things, we give you thanks in the name of Jesus Christ.
That's tricky. We will now have the posting of the colors. If you would please rise, this is posting that's done by the VFW 491
Color guard, attention. Forward, march. Reset arms.
We will now be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Lemone, who is a World War II veteran. He's 99 years old.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For their arms. Post the colors. March. Dismiss.
Yeah, Nancy, be seated. Thank you. So tonight, the format that we are going to use is the one that the Utah Debate Commission has used previously. It will run like this. So first of all, we are asking all the candidates to keep it civil. Please do not attack your opponents. And same goes for audience participation. We would like you to hold your applause if you could until the end. We also will ask the candidates to, if they feel like they need to respond, if there was some type of personal attack, which I hope there was not, that they will get 30 seconds to respond to that. So opening and closing statements and the first set of questions will be 2 minutes each. And then we would like to open it up for audience questions written on cards. There's already some duplications I see, and those will be 90-second answers. So we have a giant timer up here so the candidates can see. And when we did, we rolled some dice. and Sid Lemone won, and she is going to do the closing statement at the end, and so that means Eric Jensen is going to start with the opening statement, and we're going to go back and forth. So we'll do the 2 opening statements, 2 minutes each, and then we'll go into questions. Eric?
Come here. My name is Eric Jensen. I'm running for Pleasant Grove Mayor. I'm currently on Pleasant Grove City Council. I'm in the middle of my 3rd term. My wife, Valerie, and I have 3 children. We moved here about 35 years ago. We chose Pleasant Grove to be our home, and we're excited to be residents of the city because of everything that our community represents. My 10 kids are wonderful Vikings. They love their time here at the high school and in this community, and they've moved on. But we do have 4 wonderful grandchildren that now we get to spoil in our city here at Pleasant Grove. We're going to hear a lot tonight about why we're running, and one of them is going to be leadership, and responsibility, being prepared, collaborating, and building relationships in our community. And that's something that I hold dear. Is that ever since day one being elected on the City Council and Planning Commission is what I'm representing and what I want to focus on in our community. Whether it's with regional partners, our state partners, our sister cities, or most importantly, our residents. It's something I've always been involved with and excited to work with those in our community. One of the initiatives that I work with is Choose Kindness. If we have any of those ladies here, it's something that we have collaborated on for a long time. It's in every one of our schools now in Pleasant Grove. It's something I'm very proud of. Our accomplishment is now that we have that in our communities and schools. Serving as a mayor is not about a title for me. It's not about a grant for me. It's about serving you and representing you in whether on the area, regional, or state levels for our city. And I'm asking for your vote as mayor of Pleasant Grove.
Can you hear me okay? No? Test. Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you to your wife moderating, Erin. And again, I know there's a lot of places you could be on Monday night, so I appreciate you taking the time to come out and learn more about the candidates that could be your next mayor. One of us will be. And I want to share a little bit about me. I am a lifelong resident of Pleasant Grove. I have been in all stages of life here in Pleasant Grove, starting with my childhood roller skating down at the rec center, building forts in the foothills, and yes, strawberry days. I know most of you are surprised I'm not a strawberry days dress, and I refrained. I really wanted to. But tonight is not about me, it's about you, and sharing a little bit about me so you can make a good decision about who to vote for mayor. And I'm confident by the end of the night, I will have your vote. So, childhood, as a young mom, as a teenager, I have experienced all stages of life here in Pleasant Grove. And that's what really sets me apart. It's able to give me a perspective about different residents and their needs at this time in Pleasant Grove. And even now, I have a grandson that's being raised here, and I'm excited for him to grow up and experience the same memories and the same amazing community that I did. I've served on the City Council for the past decade, or over a decade actually, and most of you know me on City Council, but I would say the majority of you know me from the Facebook page, Pleasant Grove Community Connection. My son and resident started that, Amy Lidstrom, over 12 years ago and asked me to be a part of that. And I joined, and I have been so grateful to get to know many of you through that page. That page has been a connection, a lifeline, and a backbone to our community. I post on there every day because it's a priority for me to make sure you know what is happening in your community. And we have mourned on that page as there's been tragedy in our community. We have celebrated the Star on the Mountain and celebrated championship wins. And as mayor, I will continue that communication and grow it and make sure that you know everything going on in this community because it's your community.
Thank you. The first question will start with Eric. How do you or will you approach balancing growth, including housing? We know Utah is one of the fastest growing states in the nation and will continue on that trajectory. How do you balance that with maintaining the Pleasant Grove community spirit?
This is a big topic for our city. One that we're seeing happen now in our growth development for us. And it's something that I've advocated with not only regional partners, but with the developer itself. We do have mandates that come down from the state, and I do have a copy if anyone wants to read it. It's the moderate income housing plan, but we are required as a city, all cities are required, to talk about what are we doing about housing in our city. And one of them is ADUs, accessory dwelling units. We pass tiny homes is something I've been a big advocate for. And another one is that they talk to us about the mixed-use density in our city. And with that comes those mandates that if we don't do certain things or do certain requirements in the city, that they will withhold road monies from us. And road monies are huge for our community. That's what we've seen over the last years, that we've been taking care of more and more roads. But housing is going to be a big thing. If you take a look around, where are your kids living? Where are your grandkids living? Are they living in your basements? Or are they living in what we call these high-density units? It's something big for us. I have 2 sons that would qualify that would live in what we would call high-density, whether it's townhomes or apartments. They are critical to our city, but it has to be done reasonably. And out there by the freeway, we've worked with the developer to bring some of those in, mixed-use in. But also, along with that, I think we'll hit that a little later, is the economic boom and foundational moment for our city and what it brings with it. Thank you.
I'm all for affordable housing. When I was first on the council, I voted to legalize accessory apartments. I voted in favor of tiny homes so residents can have those on their property. I have voted for single family. I voted for high density. I have voted for apartments, condos, and townhomes over the years. But what I don't agree with is 1,100 apartment units going down into the growth, and I voted no. I was the only council member to vote no because I understand the impact that will have on our community in that area. If you think traffic is bad now, put another 1,100 cars down there at any time of day, probably closer to 2,000, because there's going to be at least two drivers per apartment. Could be more. The impact it will have on our schools, specifically Mount Mahogany, who has already had much of that overflow from the high-density units come into their school. These kids who are moving into the apartments, they need a place to go as well. So we need to accommodate that, but the impact on schools, our traffic, our community, our first responders, our infrastructure, water and utility in that area is overwhelming. And there's been no mandate from the state that has come down and said, you must vote for 1,100 units, 26 units an acre, one of the highest units per acre we have ever seen in Pleasant Grove. Again, my early years on the council, I voted for 12 units an acre. I was for multi-unit housing because I understand we need all different types of housing in the community. So I voted for a maximum of 12 units an acre. And we held that for actually quite a few years. And then we started saying yes to other developers who wanted to come in and bring 22, 24, and now 26 units an acre. That is too much for that area, and I understand the impact on our community. Over the years, I've heard you tell me, no more high density. We have enough down there. We have enough affordable housing of all different types. Again, from single family, apartments, townhomes, and condos, accessory apartments. I have voted for all those, but this one I said no to, and I support my vote and continue to this day because I think it's too much of an impact.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to start.
To answer that, or do you want me to wait?
If you can wait, that would be great. So Sid, we'll start with you on this one. What challenges and opportunities, so both sides, do you see for Pleasant Grove?
Challenges I see coming are secondary water metering, as I've gone door to door and spoken with residents over the past few months and actually over the past year. It's secondary water metering, and I share that same concern. We actually bought the lot behind our house over 10 years ago. We have a larger piece of acreage, and I'm concerned about what that's going to look like. So I understand your concern as well. Number 2 is high-density housing. I heard that at the meet and greet the most last week. And number 3 is utility rates. Why are we the highest in Utah County? We need to figure that out and get a handle on that. And if there's a specific reason, we need to do a better job of educating you and make sure you know why those utility rates are higher. Because honestly, for some of those rates, there's a reason that we just need to explain to you. We're an older city. We have old pipes underneath our roads. When we dig up the road, we have to fix the pipes. Orem doesn't have secondary water. We have to build infrastructure for that. So there's a good reason for a lot of those increases, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are doing a complete review so you know and understand why these utility rates are higher. I don't want to see them go up either. So as mayor, I want to have a monthly town hall meeting. Have you come, and if there's one person or 100 people, it doesn't matter to me. I want to give you the opportunity to come and meet with me in person, because we can only get so far on social media and through texting and phone calls. I think we want that connection in person. And by having a monthly town hall meeting, please come and tell me your concerns. I want to send out a weekly survey to residents. But even if it's just 3 questions, you tell me what's on your mind, what your concerns are at this time. So I know the challenges, as Holly said, what our community is facing. And instead of being reactive and we make a decision and then you find out about it, which I feel has happened in the past, we can be proactive with communication. What are you concerned about? Come and talk to me. Come and tell me. So as a council and mayor and staff, we can make sure we are addressing your concerns, and we can make sure that we're all on the same page so you're not finding out after the fact.
Yes, some of our major challenges and questions that have been brought up to me is, yes, the water meters. And that was something that was mandated by the state that came down to us. And we took that as a challenge, because it took a lot of money to fund that for us as residents. And that's why we worked with, and I want to thank Mayor Pickle and others, the work that they did, and our Public Works Director, in working with the state to grab bonds and grants for that, for those uses. One of the other biggest things is to continue our roads and infrastructure. That is going to be always a huge, important factor for our city, is finding the funding for that. And we built that funding up to where it's over $4.5 million now a year that we're pushing into our infrastructure for our city. And so that's important. Another one is, of course, building out our economic development. And I think we touched that on the bill earlier. And my opponent stated that one of the biggest challenges is the 1,100 units. So let me just talk about that just for a second. There is the rest of the story to that development out there. Over $600 million of investment into our community from St. John Properties, which will bring in close to $2 million worth of retail, commercial jobs, thousands of jobs into the city that will bring a foundational moment to our city. It's important that we take in and account for the rest of the story on that. It wasn't just the mixed use. When my wife said she was the only one that voted against it, yes, that's because the other 4 of us and the mayor took the opportunity to work with, collaborate with, and build relationships with the developers so we could have the best economic foundation for our city. So we have that built out for our future, for our grandkids, and for our kids. This is important because when I grew up, there used to be a gentleman that talked on radio. His name was Paul Harvey, and he'd always say the rest of the story. Well, the rest of the story is a $1.2 billion investment into our community and a 47-acre development that brings in sales tax, retail, and commercial jobs.
Thank you. We'll start with you for this next question, Eric. Can you share with our audience your 5- and 10-year vision for the city? So this outlasts the mayor's term, right? What is your vision for 5 or 10 years down the road?
Sure. My 5-year plan is to continue what we're doing, is focusing on the roads and our infrastructure. That's something that hasn't been taken care of from our city in a long time. We often hear kick the can down the road. Well, we've taken that up and we focused on that, investing over $30 million in the last 3 to 4 years for our community and road projects and infrastructure. It's important when we listen to our directors and those who are professionals in our city and want to know what's going on, it's the infrastructure in the city. We have an aging city and aging infrastructure. And so that is one of the things that we'll continue to work on. I'll continue to work with staff on and focus on our infrastructure. And that one, again, is our economy, our economic development down by the freeway. Here's the great thing, is we can have the best of both worlds. We can have our bedroom community right here, and then we can have our economic development down there. And we need to focus on that so we have that strong sales tax coming to our city. And that's why 4 of your 5 council members voted for it.
I don't want to just continue what we're doing. I want to do better. We can do better, and we will. And with my 3 priorities, which are transparency, communication, and accountability in any issue we discuss in the city, those have to be present. So transparency, how can we do better there? Orem City has what's called the transparency portal, where at a click of a button, you can see the voting record for any elected official after every meeting. On that same website, the transparency portal, you can see road projects, you can see development coming in, and you can see a whole list of projects and businesses and voting records, as I said, that are coming into Pleasant Grove. You should have that touch with that, not have to do a grammar request, not have to dig through the website. That is important to me and critical that we are open and honest about everything going on in the city. And you shouldn't have to look for the information. We should be bringing it to you. Second is accountability. I am asking that as mayor, you hold me accountable. If there's something going on that you need my attention for, and that you need to make sure I'm held accountable, please. I give my cell number out. I want to meet with you in person. I'm going to continue going door to door because I want you to hold me accountable. You need that and you deserve that from a mayor. And number 3 is communication. Not only will that continue, that will improve. I will continue using the Facebook page that has almost 17,000 members on there. That has grown with your help over 12 years. And I will continue posting on that daily. I will also, as I said, start a monthly town hall meeting, a weekly survey, and I will go door to door again to meet with you to make sure that we are reaching all people, not just through social media, but through all means. So you have that access to your mayor and city council and know exactly what's going on in your community. Going back to the other side of the story. If I can see accurate numbers of how much that retail is going to bring in and the impact that it will have that outweighs the 1,100 units and what that's going to do on the infrastructure, the roads, the traffic, and the schools, and our first responders, I would love to see those numbers.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Cities are part of a bigger political ecosystem, and you, whether you want to or not, have to interface with state legislators every once in a while with the federal government down on the city level. How is your relationship with Utah legislators and what do you see moving forward in this sort of city?
As mayor, you represent your community and Pleasant Grove specifically on the local, state, and national level. And I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to be a spokesperson for our city. I've worked with state legislators over the years that I've served on city council. I work with neighboring communities and mayors in those communities and city council members and residents. We're neighbors. We border American Fork, Cedar Hills, and Linden. We have an amazing relationship with each of those councils. I think it's important to get together with them regularly to find out what their concerns are, how can we help you, and how can you help us? Let's have a partnership, and let's make sure we're reaching out and supporting them, because when the time comes, we'll need that as well. So my relationship over the years on each of those levels, local, state, national, has been positive, and I look forward to continue working with all legislators at the different levels. And like I said, I was going to say student council here at the high school. I'm sure I'll come back there too. But the student and city councils, the mayors, everyone that, I mean, we just need to be open and supportive. We need to have open lines of communication, invite them to our council meetings. I would like to see that happening more often. Maybe it's like once a year right now that's happening. I would like to see that more. Let's invite them over. Let's welcome them because we do share services. We share emergency services. Like I said, our schools. We have residents who are attending schools in other cities and vice versa. So let's make sure we're having open lines of communication, asking how we can support them, and asking for their support and they can let's not be afraid to ask for that. But I'm excited to continue to move forward as mayor, represent our community to these different areas and these different government leaders.
This is something that's near and dear to my heart. It's something I've already been doing and advocating for. We work with the Utah League of Cities and Towns. It's something that I go to their more than yearly meetings and work with our neighboring cities and cities throughout the state. It's something amazing that you can go and sit down with your peers and ask them what is working for your city, what is not working for your city, and take those ideas back to our city and make them work. Working with our state legislators is something I already do. I already go up on the Hill at state legislative time and work with our representatives on the Hill and advocate for our city, Pleasant Grove. As far as our regional partners, UDOT, MAG, COG, is something I'm already involved in, working with area mayors and finding out what is, again, working for them and what is not working for them as a city. It's something I hold, is something that ever since I've been elected that I wanted to be involved with and represent our city. Again, it's not about building the brand for myself, it's about building the brand of our city and representing our city at the state, local, regional, and area councils. And it's something I do all the time.
I'm going to take a moderator's prerogative. Can you give us 30 seconds, Rick? Is that possible? not, it's okay. I'm interested to know, and I'm maybe some of the other people in the audience are interested to know, when you have unfunded mandates that come down from the state, where they basically say, we're telling you, you have to do this and you have to find the funds for it. Let's start with you, Eric, and then Sid. What is your response to, like, how is your interaction? And is that something that can be changed in the future, or is that just going to continue, that the state will tell cities what to do?
Well, you would know the slide. Okay, yeah, so this is good feedback. This is something we deal with on a yearly basis, and this is something the state legislators complain about, that they complain about on a national level, that the national level is taking away their authority to represent the state. Well, sometimes we feel that way as representatives for your city, is we feel sometimes every year that some of those powers and issues come up, and that's because relationships matter. And if you've built those relationships with the state legislators and regional partners, it makes things a little easier to work with them. One of them was the secondary water meters. It's something that we ran into as a huge issue for our city. We're talking about $10 to $15 million to put the system in right. And then what was important is that our public works director was able to have those relationships, and I was able to have those relationships to work with state legislators to fund the funding.
Thank you, Sid.
Mommy?
Unfunded mandates.
I think we handle the unfunded mandates as well as we can. However, I do believe that at the local level, we should have the control. And we need to talk to our legislators, and we need to make sure that that's what you're advocating for, is control at the local level. We should be able to say where our money goes, and from the state, an unfunded mandate, I don't necessarily agree with. But when it comes down, until things change, we need to make sure that we are following the state regulations, and so we don't get penalized, and so there's not, I guess what you say, I don't say punishments, but regulations that come upon the city. One thing with secondary water meters is if we didn't follow, there would be grant money that we would lose out on. And so they do somewhat put regulations and policies on if you don't follow their mandates. However, I believe we can also argue for, again, local control, that we as a community say where our money goes, because if it's unfunded, you're going to be the ones funding it. And we need to be able to, yes, work with those at the state level. And I think what we should be advocating for is control by us in our own community, not having someone who works outside of Pleasant Grove for the legislator telling us how to spend our money. I want to do that here.
Okay, thank you. Last of these quote-unquote official questions, and then we'll go to audience questions. What is your approach to communicating and interacting with Pleasant Grove residents? And Sid, I think you've mentioned things before, but you'll have an opportunity to start with that.
I saw this as a need in our community over 12 years ago, and so did my friend and resident, Amy Lindstrom, who started the Pleasant Grove Community Connection page. That, again, has been the backbone and lifeline between you as a community and me as an elected official. In fact, Linda recently started this as well because they saw the success. I am proud of this page. And I'm proud of your interaction and allowing me the privilege and opportunity to communicate with you every day for 12 years. This isn't something I get paid extra. I do it because it's a priority for me. And I do it because I know how I would want this to happen from an elected official if I was in your shoes. I want to have access to an elected official, be able to reach them, and I have people who privately message me. In fact, I've met some of my dearest friends through this page. Some of my biggest supporters have come through this Facebook page. And again, we've celebrated our wins, we've mourned our tragedies, and we've come together. We've actually had some of the biggest issues. In fact, this page was started because it was the first round of public safety building, when it wasn't going well, and we didn't do things right as the council. And we put this out on the page for feedback, and there was a lot of contention. And we actually worked through that, and now we have a beautiful public safety building years later. It took several times. And I've actually apologized for the mistakes I made early on because I was learning as well, and I still am. So I appreciate your patience with me as I try to manage that page as best I can with that many people on it. It's day to day, it takes time to answer, and I try to answer kindly and with compassion and be informative to you. But also, I want to treat you the way I would want to be treated. And I also want to be able to have you get access from me. And I give my personal cell number on that page and be able to answer questions day or night, 24/7. That's fine. You should be able to have access to your elected official. And so I would say my biggest accomplishment right now in the council is that page and connecting with you every day. You deserve that as Pleasant Grove residents.
Communication is probably one of the biggest factors that our cities have to work on. We just recently upgraded our website. And so to you, that are all out there listening, is we have a wonderful website. We have wonderful city employees. I'll just take, for example, our library. Does a tremendous job on social media, getting the news out, activities out, and events. We should always be looking to reports our city webpage for the news and updates. That's the official page for our updates for the city. That's where we should always go. It's somewhere I always go and always share it with my friends and neighbors as I knock doors and talk to people on the phone or via email. Is that we have a tremendous webpage that our employees have spent a lot of time on and worked on. Our public relations manager spends a lot of time on getting information out there. Did you know that the road updates are already out there? Road projects are already out there. Our 3-year road plan is already out there. A lot of our events are always publicized and out there. And so it's something that I take pride in for our employees because they do a tremendous job of getting our events out to our city. I look forward to it. And I look forward to sharing with that. It's something we should always do. Is we have the opportunity to share that information with our fellow residents out there. Because that's the best way to get your information from the source is from the website.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's a number of questions that are similar, but let me start with this one. So, Pleasant Grove is known for street problems, potholes, etc. Lately, this person says they are being taken care of, but what is the ongoing plan to maintain them in the future? We'll start there. Yeah.
It's something I mentioned in my opening statement is when I first started on council, I think we were paying easily $400,000 a year into roads. Pretty pathetic for our city. Now we're up to the last 3 to 4 years, we've put in over $30 million into our infrastructure and roads. Part of that is because of the relationships built with the state and with our mayor and with the MAG Association and getting additional grants and funding for our roads. 2600 is a great example of the funds that went towards that road. We got, I think, somewhere around $45 million for that road project. It's something we've been working on. A lot of you know that we have a road fee and then percent sales tax for the county. That now has increased our funding up to close to $4.5 million for our city. Infrastructure in our city, again, is aging. It's old. A lot of the cities around us, American Fork, Lehigh, Linden, have these issues. It's something they're going to have to take a look at. But we have stopped kicking the can down the road, and we're focusing on that infrastructure. And that's why it's important to me, is because we've built those relationships with our regional partners to help focus on those needs. Roads will always be in the state of Utah focus for our city. It just will be with the climate and the weather that we have. It takes a toll on our roads. As we address these issues and move forward, we can keep the good roads good, and then when we have certain roads we need to work on, we have those needed funds to focus on. It takes close to $1.2 million to do 1 mile of road. It's a lot of money. We have 120 miles of roads in our city, so it takes a lot to focus on, but we've been doing it, and we have a 10-year road plan that we focus on, and that our public works employees do a great job at. Thanks.
First, a shout out to our public works because they are repairing roads and potholes and doing the dirty work behind the scenes that many of us do not see. And we wake up and there's a pothole filled or a nice paved road, and there's a lot that goes into it. So I do want to recognize their efforts because our public works with our employees do an amazing job at what funding they have and the resources they have to fix our roads. What I noticed this summer specifically is that when a road repair was happening in a neighborhood, people didn't always have the right notification from the contractor doing the work. I think we can do a better job in being transparent in what work is going to be done, timelines. There's a lot of confusion with commuting what roads will be closed. So I think we can coordinate better with contractors when that road work is going to be done. So you as residents know and understand how it's going to be affected in your area and how that could affect your commute to work or taking kids to school. I think we can do better in that area and be more transparent. I also think that the road funding, we're getting there. We're doing more road repairs than ever before. So we continue with that, but again, we improve in the areas where we're lacking. And that's communication with road repairs, making sure that you don't have to dig through the website, which is an amazing resource, but you don't have to dig through there for road projects and what's going on. But you have that at a touch of a button on the homepage, so you can click on and see what's going to be happening, if anything, in your area, and what that long-term plan is. And then just making sure that we are communicating, again, with you, and coordinating those road repairs with infrastructure needs underneath the roads. If that has been our goal, that if we have very old pipes, and if something needs to be fixed, we don't just tear up the road and then come back 6 months later and fix the pipes. We're trying to do coordinated road repairs, so we save money, we save time, and we make sure that the impact of that isn't overwhelming, and so we get it done at one time. We want to make sure that we're coordinating those, and we haven't over the past few years, and that will continue. But there's ways we can even improve and do even better. And again, I want to give a shout out to our Public Works Department. They have a really tough job, and they've been doing great.
Thank you. We only have time for a couple more questions. Crazy. Okay, so this one, elected officials often face public criticism, which is true. How do you handle disagreement or pushback while maintaining professionalism and focus, no matter whether it's online or in public, at a meeting, or just on the street? So you can start, thanks.
Well, the downside of Pleasant Grove Communication page is I put myself out there, and I have gotten a lot of heat over issues because I will ask the hard questions. And you know what, there was a dark time when I was on city council and I didn't know how to handle it in the beginning. And over the years, I have learned to open my mind and open my perspective and open my way of thinking that even though someone else might not agree with me, they may actually have a good idea. And sometimes when people are vocal and they come across as harsh or aggressive, there's a problem that's affecting them and I just need to listen. And as mayor, that would be my number one goal, is to listen. And there's a difference between hearing someone and listening to someone. And it's taken me a lot of years to figure that out, serving on the council, because it's easy to get defensive. When someone starts attacking you online, because it's easy to do behind a keyboard, I try to maintain my composure and respond with a professional attitude. I try to respond kindly, because I know there's actually something else going on that's bothering me. And I try to get to the root of that. And I've actually been able to turn some, I'm going to say, not enemies, but people who were pretty critical of me on that page into friends. I'm actually quite proud of that. And that will be my role as mayor, to communicate and connect regardless of your position, regardless of your political background and your perspective. My goal will be to have an open mind and an open heart to be able to understand where you are coming from. Because most of us just want to be heard. You want your voice to be heard, you want your issue to be heard, and even though the outcome might not be exactly what you want, having the opportunity to have someone listen, an elected official, is what I have found people are looking for. And I didn't do that well in the beginning. And again, I've apologized for that. And we've talked to people that I had a closed mind about, and we've been able to work through those differences. And now I'd say they're some of my dear friends, and actually people I go to for advice, and how we should handle things in the city, and I look towards their opinion. So listening is my number one goal as mayor.
One of the best pieces of advice I got when I was running for the city council was to be patient, to be curious, and wonder what their perspective was. If you take the moment to just sit down and listen to the people that have a concern with you and build a relationship with them, you end up seeing their perspective from all things. That's what I'm about. I'm not an all or nothing candidate. I'm not an I candidate. I'm a we candidate. We as a city of Pleasant Grove, that's who I represent. It's you, in this audience, and no doubt in our community. So if we take the opportunity to just listen and be curious about what they're actually asking us, it means a lot to them. We may disagree, but we will walk away understanding each other and trying to make our city a better place. It's something I've always taken. I'm the president of the Pleasant Grove Chamber of Commerce. I work with businesses every day, and I face issues from them every day. And listening to and how they work with the city. It's important that we actually take the time to spend with them to listen about their issues and their concerns. It's very important to me. And it's something I've always been able to do and work with them. If you have a question, I will find you. I will come to your doorstep. It's that simple. We need to listen and be curious about each other more and more.
Okay, we have a number of really great questions that we won't have time to get to, but I am going to go back to development/redevelopment, and there are two questions specifically asking about downtown. One is asking specifically about why high-density housing is being green-lighted on Main Street, but being discouraged in the Grove District. What's the distinction? And the other one is just how do you help encourage the continued development or redevelopment of downtown? So Eric, do you want to start with that?
A long time ago, I was on the downtown at Whitehall. It was something I take great pride in. I remember driving down Main Street once, and my wife gets mad at me for sharing this experience. And she made me pull over. And I said, what's going on? She said, stop complaining and do something about it. And that's how I got involved with the politics of the city, is I took that moment to become a neighborhood chair and then serve on the planning commission and other boards. We try to work with developers the best we can, try to listen to them, and that's something that we see out in the growth. It's so important because, again, it's a $600 million investment into our community. It's a foundational moment for our city. If we're able to sit down and talk to the developer and share our vision and their vision and try to collaborate with that said developer. We do the same thing on Main Street. Drew Armstrong's here reporting. It's something we try to take pride in, to sit down, to listen, to collaborate, and build those relationships and see what is best. We're trying to build a walkable downtown. He's trying to bring in his vision and our vision to our downtown. Now, some may not agree with it, but he's trying to bring in shops and the look and feel of our 1920s and 1930s of the downtown. The same goes to out in the Grove area. Again, we have a chance to over 200,000 square feet of retail in our city. You know what that means? That means close to $2 million of sales tax in our city. Commercial will bring thousands of jobs into our city. The mixed-use housing will bring people who want to live here in Pleasant Grove, who want to spend their money here and work here. And that's what we're about, is creating relationships that matter with our developers so we can sit down at a table and actually have a discussion with them what we not see in our city. Thanks.
My first and foremost priority is a relationship with you, the people of Pleasant Grove. Not the developer down in the Grove, but you. And I need you to tell me what you want to see from development on Main Street and the Grove. And that's why I want the monthly town hall meeting, a survey, and to interact with you so you can tell me. My first priority is not the developers. I want them here and we're open for business. But again, going back to 1,100 units, I was willing to work with him. I was going to do 600 or 700 units. He originally wanted 1,300. They said yes to 11. That is still too many for me. So yes, I do want to work with developers. If it's in our best interest for you as community members, if that impact is going to be what's best for us. Because I want to be a mayor for the people, for you. And so that's my first priority. With what's happening on Main Street in Pleasant Grove, I actually love that project. I think it has a historical feel. We require that for any development that goes down there, that the exterior looks like our original downtown. And I think it's actually a beautiful development that's bringing in retail and housing down there. And I'm excited for what's happening. My focus as mayor is going to be the west side of Main Street. It needs to be revitalized. And we somehow need to work with that property owner and get those businesses up and going. We shouldn't have vacant, dilapidated buildings. And I've had numerous business owners come to me and say, can we rent that space? We need to find a way to work with that owner to get that west side up and going because that will create the traffic we need in downtown and make sure that those business owners on the east side continue to thrive. They've done amazing with the resources that they have and only having basically that east side open. We need to get the west side open and work with that property owner to make sure those buildings do not stay dilapidated, that they are used and they are functioning, and we get people in there that want to bring business and want to be entrepreneurs. That's my goal and that's my vision for downtown as mayor.
We've already come to the time for closing statements. So these, again, there are 2 minutes, and we're going to start with Eric and Jensen.
Rachel, can we give a round of applause to Holly? She's done a wonderful job tonight.
How about you?
My closing statement is this. We care about you. We love you, the city council members. We want the health, safety, and welfare of our community. It's always first and foremost in our minds. Always. But when we have people come into our community like a developer and want to spend $30 to $40 million on a project to buy land, it's important for us to sit down at the table with them and to listen to them and what their vision is, and for them to listen to what our vision is as a city. That we want retail, and we want commercial, we want jobs in the city, we want that sales tax in our city. It means a lot. Yes, we always have residents at heart. We're always looking out for you. And that's something we always struggle with when we come to whether we're asking for a rate increase or certain things that we have with the school coming up. It's something we've always tried to focus on and represent you, our citizens, and it means a lot. Relationships matter to me. That is our model at the Pleasant Grove Chamber of Commerce, and it's something I've always focused on when I work with businesses on a daily basis. I work with hundreds of businesses in our community, and it's important to engage them in our community and to see the importance of them, to see the importance of communicating with you, our residents, and investing into our community. This said developer spent over $1 million at our space center. They built a new elevator in the library. It's because they care. It's because we built that relationship with them. Our residents, I think, appreciate that and can see that. And that's because we've collaborated with them and worked with them and built those relationships. We want the best for them, we want the best for you.
First, I'm going to stand and get a little more personal, if that's okay. And I want to thank Eric. Thank you. And I'm just going to come up and get a little more personal, if that's okay. So I'm going to see things a little bit differently as my closing statement, and it's this. There are 3 things that set us apart, because this is the question I get most as a candidate. Why are you different than your opponent? And here's why I am. Number 1 is communication. You have seen how hard I've worked and made it a priority to communicate with you over the past 12 years, every day. That is a priority. That will not only continue, but that communication will improve, and I've given you examples of how I will do that. Number 2 is I want to make sure that you know my stance on high-density housing and the said developer. I'm not going to go into details, but I have done everything I can to work with him. The only thing I voted no on for him was the high-density housing. I supported him from day 1 when they brought their buildings here. I supported him and voted yes. Except I could not do it on this because I've heard from the community over the years that you don't want that kind of impact on our roads, our traffic, our schools, our first responders, and the infrastructure down there, and I agree with you. And that's why I voted no, and I was alone in that vote. And I stand by that. And number 3, I'm going to tell you about my endorsements, because that's important to me. My endorsements are not from the mayor and city council, and there's a reason for that. I intentionally did not seek out their endorsement, nor did I seek out endorsements from a developer. I sought out endorsements from you, the people of Pleasant Grove. In fact, my endorsements, there's no title on any name on my endorsements, and I have over 150 that are supporting me and willing to put it in writing why they're supporting me. That is so important to me. I will be a mayor for the people, for you of Pleasant Grove, and I will do everything I can to be your advocate and your voice and to make sure you are heard for the next 4 years.
Thank you. A minute or 2 to reset. So thank you, Sid. Thank you, Eric, for coming up here and taking questions. Thank you for being here. And we're going to go to the city council candidates. So if they want to come up here, that's great. And if you have additional questions that you haven't already put in here for city council candidates, there are 3. And we will spend the next hour going through questions with our city council candidates.